The other day I was asked that who's the most likely challenger. The only team really that's proven that they can run them really close and that I would trust most probably is Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, because of when they came back last time. But I'm not sure about that, because I think they dropped off way below what they did last time when they had a bad season.
Lots of clips to run through today, some really important conversations in relation to the Premier League and who will challenge Manchester City next season. There's also talk about there's a big exposure and apology from Jamie Carragher to come, plus some talk on Newcastle. So make sure you stay with the show. Will it be Arsenal, though? Will it be Liverpool, as Gary Neville was suggesting? Could Man United or Newcastle? Who will challenge this Man City team next year? Let's take a look. I want to get your reactions below as well, though, because your opinions are more important than anything else on the terrace. But let's take a little listen to what the man says.
I hope that all the other teams are looking at Manchester City, not feeling sorry for themselves and thinking, right, how do we get to that level?
Absolutely spot on. I've been a little bit sickened, is the right word, by the defeatist nature of so many people when it comes, oh, City are too good, can't be caught, no point trying. Maybe it's the cough from which I've been cut, and the way I view the world. No matter how much better somebody is at me than something, I'll always strive to achieve the best I can. I'll always keep working hard, like never say die attitude. Or maybe they're right. Maybe City are uncatchable. What do you think about that?
It's happened in the past where a team have got up to an exceptional level and then the others have tried to get there. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool lived with them for 3 or 4 seasons. They're the only team that have really proven that they can do it. Arsenal did it for 30 games this season. We're exceptional. So let's hope that it can happen, because I don't buy into this doom and gloom that we might as well all pack up and go home and no one else has a chance. I think the other teams are spending enough money to be able to get it right. But City have the most exceptional manager. However, I would say that Jurgen Klopp's performance at Liverpool, with his net spend of being like 200 million in the last 5-6 years compared to Pep Guardiola's, deserves a special mention. He's equally as good.
So Gary's going Liverpool. Are you going to go Manchester United?
I'm going to go Liverpool and Manchester United. I do. I think Liverpool will come back. I agree with Gary. I think the jump in terms of really challenging City might be too big. It may still be a little bit too big for Manchester United, but I do see those two teams. I think we're Manchester United.
Look, I agree that Man United can challenge next year, and I think Liverpool can challenge next year. There is no doubt about that in my mind, with the right summer. And that is the precursor. And I know that some people, no way, no way, no way. Man United need more goals. More goals and more control in the midfield, and United will challenge. I think City will finish ahead of them next year. Liverpool, I think they can bounce back after a poor season and get straight back into a competitive title race with the right summer and with the right recruitment, because it's only a year ago they were doing it. They've not fallen away for long enough for it to become too much of an uphill struggle. But I do have to say, Arsenal need to be mentioned here as well. Without a shadow of a doubt, Arsenal must be mentioned. They have to be mentioned here. It goes without saying. They have fallen off in the last 4 or 5 games. They have. But that's because they lost it in that 4-game period up until City beat them. And mentally they checked out. And I think because they've been mentally checked out for the last few games, people are now, that's it, can't do nothing next year. Again, with Arsenal, the summer is key. I think that Arsenal will be a very good team again next year with the right summer. And if they do recruit Gundogan and Rice, they add some more quality up front, another defender. I don't see any logical reason right now. I've not seen anybody present one that says they won't compete for the title again next year. I think we could be in for a really good title race. Liverpool, for me, would be my main front runners with a good summer to challenge City because of their past experience. But Man United and Arsenal, don't write them off. Don't write them off from pushing City next year and both improving their teams, both defensively and in the midfield areas. And I think thirdly, adding even more goals across all competitions to the season. But I want to get your take on what Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville have had to say here on who will challenge, and why do you think Gary Neville and Jamie are completely dismissing Arsenal again? Why do you think they're doing that? I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your takes. I want to get your opinions on that right now. Staying with Monday Night Football, we're going to go to a little apology here, I believe. I haven't listened to it yet, but I've seen the clip. I've seen the writing around the clip. Let's see what Gary.
I know it means something. Biggest surprise, and we left this open-ended in terms of criteria. We don't want to see what they came up with for their biggest surprise.
Are we? My signings updated as well.
Yeah.
Morgan Gibbs
Oh,
White.
here comes the apology, the retreat down the
All
road.
right, yes, let's start with that then. Lisandro Martinez is too small to play in English football. He's too small to play in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's not about Lisandro Martinez. That's about any centre-back. Any centre-back coming to the Premier League who is well under 6 foot, you think he's going to have a problem. But he hasn't, and every player has weaknesses, whatever that may be, whether it's physically, technically. And the best players hide the weaknesses. We've all got them. No one's a perfect player. And I just looked at that and I thought, how can you overcome that in the Premier League? I mean, I wasn't the tallest centre-back, and I used to go into games worried that I'm going to get found out or I'm going to get sort of bullied in the air. And at times you lose big challenges, you lose goals. And I thought he's probably 3 or 4 inches smaller than me. But I think when you're talking about the role of Casemiro, and he's not in the Manchester United team, I think it's a massive drop-off when Martinez is not in the Manchester United team.
Fair play. I want to say a massive fair play there to Jamie Carragher. Takes a real person, a real man to hold your hands up when you get something wrong. Not enough people in the social media world do it at all. And I know he's a professional pundit, but he's also heavily involved in socials. It's good to see. And he was wrong on that. This Lisandro Martinez had an impeccable good first season in the Premier League. And I believe his second season, there'll be an even bigger jump up in levels as the Manchester United team improves. So yes, he's been exposed as getting it wrong, but he took it like a champ. And that's what people do. You get something wrong, you hold your hands up and you say, yeah. But what he did do, again, and this is what's key, his logic made sense. His logic is right. It's just he applied it to the wrong player who is above the... I think Lisandro Martinez is an exception to the rule. And he just applied the rule to the logic. But every now and then, a player or a team defies that logic. And that's the beauty of sport. It's why it's more entertaining to me than any box set, any movie, any theatre show, any concert. They've all got an air of predictability to them. And every now and then you get a sixth sense moment where you don't see it coming. But that's what's amazing about sport. You don't quite know what you've got. To quote Forrest Gump, it's a little bit like a box of chocolates. Although you do know what you're going to get with a box of chocolates. It says it on the outside. So I never really get that saying, thinking about it now. But anyway, maybe chocolates were different in those days and there wasn't a label displaying what they all were. But anyway, but well done to Jamie Carragher for kind of not calling himself out, but admitting defeat there. Remember, by the way, we're still giving away 2 tickets and £250 spending money to the FA Cup final. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the description below to enter that raffle now. But I want to talk a little bit about Newcastle because I saw this clip. I have seen this one already of TALKSPORT, Cundy, O'Hara talking about Newcastle. Take a little listen.
Club that are used to failure. This is why they're celebrating the way they are.
Oh,
the club.
honestly.
No, it's true though. They're a football club. They think they're a big club, and they're not. Right? And then
They are a big club.
What do you mean they're a big club?
They're a massive football club, Jace. They're a huge football club
they're
in the north of England.
Oh, there you go. Okay, okay.
Yeah, in the north of England they are. So that Cundy's right. They are not a massive football club. If you consider Man United and Liverpool and Barcelona and Real Madrid to be massive, Newcastle are not. They're smaller. They're a big club in my opinion. But what I already take issue with is just they're celebrating being in the Champions League because they're used to failure. No, I think it's a good attempt at an argument there from Cundy. The reason they're celebrating is just like Man United fans celebrate. Newcastle fans know they are on their way to being one of the best clubs in the world, one of the best football teams in the world. Man United fans know they are on a trajectory to get back into title races and get back to the top. As long as a takeover happens and they continue to back Ten Hag, the growth is there. The reason that a lot of Arsenal fans haven't thrown their toys out of the pram, they've criticised the collapse, but the reason they're not throwing baby out with the bathwater is because they believe they're getting back to their very best. Cundy here sounds a little bit like Lee Gunner in this notion of you shouldn't celebrate just qualifying for the Champions League with no trophies. Yeah, it's true if your club's like Tottenham, or it was like Arsenal for many years where they never really spent enough. They never really went for the jugular of other teams to go on to that next level. And it was about celebrating the qualification more so than I think over the course of time we'll have the ability to win it. Newcastle need exposure to the Champions League. 1, to attract players, partly. 2, to generate more natural income, which helps the owners get bigger sponsors, which means they've got more money to spend on salaries and players so that you create that natural and organic financial growth, which they're going to need. And on top of that, it starts to teach the players about this level of football again. It takes time. You need to be in it to grow and develop to be able to get to the very top. This notion that you can go from being where Newcastle were 2 years ago to being champions of England and champions of Europe inside 2 or 3 seasons just because of money, just because you have billionaire owners, is false. Chelsea weren't even an anomaly. Chelsea were already a team competing for the top 4. They were already a team that the year before Jose arrived challenged for a title. They were also a team that had won a handful of trophies in the Premier League era, but there was no FFP restrictions when Roman came in. They could spend massive, and they were able to break the bank and change football in such a massive way in a short period of time. That doesn't exist anymore. The growth pattern is smaller because there's no FFP. Plus, there are loads of other teams in the Premier League with equal or more amount of money to spend. If Chelsea would have got Roman as an owner, but there were already 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League with more money than what Roman came in with, Chelsea's growth wouldn't have been as quick. Or at the very least, their growth may have been as fast or as quick, but relatively speaking, it may have seemed slower because other people were already able to work with them. You know, you stand a 6'2" person next to somebody that's 7 foot. The 6'2" person looks short. Perspective, right? And I think that is what is key here. And I think, look, I don't want Newcastle to become a powerhouse, but I'm going to defend them here. They have every single right to celebrate. Every single right to celebrate being in the top 4. 1, because of their trajectory. And 2, they're in a relegation zone just over 18 months ago. It is crazy, absolutely crazy to call them out. And I'll defend clubs against this lazy punditry. Defended Man United many times this year. Of course, I'm a United fan. Defended Arsenal against lazy punditry. Always will. Now I'm doing the same to Newcastle. Maybe some of you will start to see that pattern. We've got to push back against this lazy punditry. We really do. Listen, hit the like and the share button, subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon.